welcome back. Today we got some things we're doing, some small things. We gotta do the timing cover gasket, this sensor, and we got a plug for the OEM dipstick goes, which I believe is right there. So a couple of little things to do. I think there's one more thing I'm forgetting. Yes, and of course, what I'm most excited about is this oil filter housing plate adapter, because of course the oil pan doesn't have a spot for it. So this filter didn't come with it, obviously. I just grabbed this off the shelf for my work, so I had to sit up there for a little while, so it doesn't look the best, but you know, it's good. Unfortunately, I know this is a big oil filter, but unfortunately that's the only, this and a bigger one, which I didn't want to get the bigger one, is the only kind of oil filter this supports. I'm sure I could find another one in the same thread size that's maybe a little skinnier, because it is, they say it supports smaller ones, but that one fit the best. So, and that's the one it did recommend on this paper here. This was the cheapest, not horrible quality one I could find. It was about 70 bucks. There was a cheaper one I found that was like 20, and it looked like super great quality. And it also didn't have 4 ports, it only had 2. But this one's got 4 ports on it, and it's also made for 10 AN lines, because that oil filter, the fittings on it are for 10 AN lines. So this is for 10 AN lines. So those threads should be correct for the 10 AN lines that we bought. So we have Evil Energy 10 AN lines and this oil filter plate here. It also comes with this too, so you can mount it up anywhere. The reason I went to go with this method was because ISR does sell a like a kit for their oil pan. It has for the oil filter housing and all that, but it's like, I think it's over $200 if I remember correctly, which was ridiculous. I'm not about to pay $250 on something, just a piece of metal and 10 AN lines. So we bought this for about 70 bucks. The lines on Amazon for about 60 bucks, and it's Evil Energy. They're pretty good. It is an Amazon brand, or just a brand that sells on Amazon, but it's pretty good. I've used their stuff before, so I trust them. And yeah, so those are 10 AN lines we have, 10 AN oil filter housing, and 10 AN fittings on our oil pan. Now, personally, I think 10 AN fittings are a bit big for oil, but it should be just fine. And the reason we went with one with 4 ports is because you can run, obviously, from the filter to the pan, but you can also run it to an oil cooler, which we are probably going to be running. It'll block it off for now because we're not going to have the oil cooler on this minute, but whenever it ends up going in the car, we will mount an oil cooler up. Probably not a very big one, probably just run something pretty small. It is going to be very open in engine bay, and this oil filter is going to be in a very open spot, and that's going to help a lot with the cooling of the oil pretty well. And we're going to be running probably 540 in this engine, which is already an oil that doesn't get quite as hot as your regular 530. Just point this down a bit more. But yeah. So that's one thing we're doing. Let's go over the rest of the stuff we got. So this is our gasket kit. A coworker gave this to me. Super awesome. Really set me up here. Got me every single gasket I could use for the timing. And I think that's even for the oil pump. We might change that. I don't know. We're going to be in there anyways. Here is the timing cover. Got this from Rock Auto. It's GM, OEM. Same for this sensor here. It's a GM part. So for the timing cover and the sensor, we are running both the timing cover and the sensors from a 2005 Corvette, which is the LS2 if you don't know. It really just slides right in, which is cool because when I did the sensor on that, so let's just explain what I did here. So this sensor was from the original one that I had there with the DOD and all that, and I swapped it onto this because I didn't realize at the time it really mattered, but of course obviously it does, because the gear for the cam, it can only be read by one of these, which I'm pretty sure it's this. I've looked up a C5 and it looks similar. It might be wrong, and if it is, we'll just switch that sensor out, no big deal. But yeah, it's cool. Unfortunately, we don't have hardware though, so we're gonna have to reuse this hardware. But yeah, that slid right in there. This one did not slide right in there. I had to persuade that one on a little bit, if you know what I mean. But yeah, very nice, very nice, very nice. All right, so right now what we're going to be doing is we're just going to take off the timing cover, because that's how we're going to start. It's the timing cover. We're going to take this off, so we're going to fast forward to when we've got the timing cover off. Okay, so while we have the timing cover off, I want to go over a couple of things. So number one, probably the most important thing to do here, I say most important, these are all really important things. But definitely one thing to really do once you have all this timing stuff off is there's a little plate behind you, the retainer plate for the cam. You can kind of see it. It's the brighter metal right here because mine's new. You want to replace that. I replaced mine with the ICT billet one, so again, decent brand. But you want to replace that. It's an internal gasket that's pretty overlooked, but it's pretty important, and they do go bad. You will lose oil pressure if you don't replace that. So, I mean, most of the time you'll lose oil pressure if you don't replace it. So, replace that part while you're in there. It's not very expensive. Just go ahead and do it. All right, so timing cover's on. There's some trial and error with this. So putting it on, this gasket was kind of going, it's exaggerated, but it was kind of doing that. So I couldn't really push it down to get the hole straight. So what I did was I took a flathead and I took it in here and I put it on the lip of this thing, not too far in, so it's not hitting on the oil pump, and just kind of pry it up on this bolt, just enough so I could get it down a level. I did ding it just a tiny bit. I was really trying not to, but you can see I did kind of ding it a little bit, unfortunately. If it leaks, it leaks. I'd prefer to have a small leak, if anything, just to keep the rust away. I know that sounds funny, but it is true. It is true. The reason Chevys don't rust like Fords do is because they don't leak. Or because they do leak. Anyways, so the way I did it, that I found best, and I think this is actually the way GM tells you to put it on. I could be mistaken, but I frankly remember somebody telling me to do something like this. I thought they were saying the other way around. But what I did, what made sense for me to do, and what I ended up doing, was I took these bottom bolts for the oil pan. I tightened this up first so that I could get it down, right? Bring the whole thing down. Of course, I just got these in like hand tight, just so it wasn't coming forwards. But I brought it down, right? By tightening these, and in theory it should be centered doing it like this. I mean, maybe not side to side, I guess, but it should be daggone close, because as long as the pan, the surface area on the pan where it mounts is completely flat, which I would hope it'd be for a $700 oil pan, it technically should be centered. I mean, maybe not, again, not side to side, but up and down wise, it should be centered. And the oil pump is this little plug right here. Take this out, pour some oil in there, and that should prime the oil pump. Okay, so we pre-filled the pump. You kind of just pour it in here until it overflows, which kind of makes this task an unavoidable mess, but we just use a little paper funnel to get it in there, because we didn't really have any other funnels lying around that fit, fortunately. So it made a little mess, but it's good. So this is now when we're spinning this engine over, we aren't, just spinning this oil pump dry. And I did put oil. I literally sat this thing in oil, completely open, like with the cap off and everything. And I put it upside down and filled it with oil. So there's oil in there. I might not be filled with oil, but there was oil in there when I was spinning it around. So please don't don't freak out. I'm not that dumb. But yeah, so that's done. One other thing I was talking about, the little thing that I want to do is go ahead and put in the plug for the dipstick. All right, got your plug in. Plug. All right, so we are doing these AN lines now. Unfortunately, I didn't bring another wrench with me, at least not one that was big enough. So we're just kind of getting these as tight as we can with it in our hand. And then we'll come back tomorrow with an actual wrench and get these properly tightened down, because I'm pretty sure you want that gap to be closed. But yeah, so I briefly watched a video on how to do these lines, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So first off, get your angle grinder or whatever you're using to cut these lines, and you're going to cut it as straight as you can, because if it's cockeyed, it's not going to be flat on the surface. So as straight as you can. And once I'm done, I have to go over with some scissors and give it a little haircut. because it could be a pain. But getting these lines on, if the fibers or whatever you want to call it is, the braid is, you know, making it difficult. So you take your fitting right here, and there are threads in there. You can see there are threads in there. I'm trying to get close to the camera. It's hard to see. Ooh, okay, there's threads in here, right? You can see them. There's also threads on this side. There's a little, it's hard to show. Threads, also threads. This side with the cone is going to be the side that's going to go on like this. So you're going to push it in there, tidy it on until you get to these threads. You don't want to go onto these threads because then you're going to get the other part, this part, in all the way. So just go to the threads. There's literally a little lip right there you want to get it to. So let's go ahead and show how we do it. You gotta work this on there. Could be kind of difficult. All right, so kind of sort of got the hang of putting these lines on. I just kind of would take a flathead and push all the braids in through here. You're not really supposed to leave electrical tape on. That's only for when you're cutting it. But yeah, we got the lines on. They're not tight at all. We just got them on there as tight as we could by hand. We're gonna bring these lines to work tomorrow, get them on the vise, make sure they're actually really, really tight. And the other thing, we actually need nipples apparently for these. So I didn't realize that. So we actually got to go buy some nipples for those. Got to buy 4 of them. We got a plug. Really just need 2 for now, but we're gonna eventually need 4. Just for some weird reason, it comes with the plugs. Ooh, these are the plugs for the side that you're not using. And then this side, it's just there's nothing else except for the hardware for it to be mounted. So that's kind of weird. So anyways, so tomorrow we're going to take these lines, get them tight. We're gonna get the centerpiece for that. We're gonna try and find nipples for the oil filter bit. And I'm not sure where we're gonna put the oil filter, to be honest. Might just zip tie it to the stand or put it up here or something. I don't know yet. But yeah, that's the game plan for now. So I will see you tomorrow. Okay, welcome back. It's the next day. We just got back from work and we used our vise there to tighten down these fittings properly. I really just wanted to use the vise also just so I could watch and make sure the lines aren't getting pushed out. I was mainly concerned about this one because it went on a little cockeyed. I think because the fibers kind of folded over a little bit and it just didn't thread on super centered, or either I didn't cut it straight and that's how it went flat on. But either way, I tightened them all down. None of them were walking themselves out or getting pushed out. So all these fittings are good. They look great. You know, I really didn't like putting these on, but I think I'm gonna continue using them because they look great. And even when you don't know what you're doing, having these on your engine swap makes you look like you know what you're doing. So we're probably gonna keep using these. Plus I like them. They just look good. They look nice too. They just look professional, even when you're not. But yeah, anyways, so we're gonna throw these on the engine. As far as the oil filter goes, it kind of sucks, but we can't actually put the oil filter on today, and we're probably going to do it off camera. Reason being, apparently the fittings don't thread in here. I don't know why I thought they would, but they don't. Anyways, I have to buy 10AN fittings. The thread size is 410AN, so like this with thread onto there, like the same thread size, but you're supposed to buy these fittings separate to thread them on. So I did order 4 for each side, obviously, and those should get here, I believe, Sunday. We aren't going to film that. It's really self-explanatory. We're going to put the lines on, then we're going to put the fittings on, then we're going to put the lines on here, and we're probably just going to put this somewhere, the oil filter somewhere, so it's not like, we might even just put it up on top of the engine, just for now. But yeah, so to finish the video off, we're going to go ahead and put these lines on the oil pan here. And also, so we're gonna go ahead and use a tool to center this up, but talked to my local LS head and he said he personally does not do that. he'll just line it up with the oil pan, which is what, or not the oil pan, but the block, which is what we did yesterday. So it should be good. Probably whenever I get the crank pulley on, I'm going to loosen them up and retighten them just so it centers itself if it's not perfectly centered. And then also, we're gonna go ahead and put the front main seal in, which I think we're gonna start with doing just that. So we're gonna put this front main seal in first. It should be pretty easy. I'm pretty sure you literally just squeeze it in. You might just put some Earl around the edges. Use some tranny fluid. If you don't know what to lubricate your engine with, you can never go wrong with some tranny fluid. This is what I've just been using to keep my engine lubricated as I've had the internals just out and about. So, and it's gonna mix with the oil, but you know, we'll probably just, we're not gonna fire it up with it like that. We're gonna drain it out once it's all done and then put new fresh oil in, and then we can crank this puppy up. But that's not gonna be till a while, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure how to, if it's in all the way, but it looks good to me. Okay, so, what was it saying? Yeah, but the one thing I'm concerned about this engine is I won't rev up as quickly. So I'm trying to do like, make it just as light as possible. Like lightweight flywheel, lightweight clutch. I'm gonna try and find the smallest diameter flywheel possible because we are using the OEM 350Z clutch in this kit. The adapter plate I found, it uses like a sprocked one, like a spoked clutch. And I looked into it. I even emailed them and asked them like, hey, like, I'm trying to figure out what diameter this clutch is, so you saw if I can use something different. Because I didn't know if it was a bigger diameter to match the flywheel. And I emailed them and they said, they sent me the link to where the company that sells the clutches, and it's just a regular old factory, at least OEM size. So like really any OEM clutch would work with the ICT billet trans adapter kit. So I think it's just fine. And I know in the Nissan XT clutch, for the manual XTRs, which I didn't even know was a thing, but that's kind of cool. Their clutches is a greater diameter, but they don't have as much surface area on the actual clutch material. So I'm probably just gonna use a factory OEM clutch. Probably just an unsprung full face, maybe, or maybe like a sprung spoked one, or even maybe even the one that they come with. But we'll figure out what to do for that when that time comes. But yeah, I just want this engine thing I'm thinking about with the lightweight crank pulleys, just trying to, you know, make it lightweight. And because we're really concerned about making the engine rev really quickly for, you know, easier downshifting and rev matching, I'm thinking we probably aren't gonna run AC. The big thing with this engine swap was that I really wanted to run AC, but it's a lot of work. And if it's going to go full track car and I'm gonna get a daily, then I'm just throwing AC out the window. Not gonna use it. Just gonna wait to enjoy the car while it's cold outside. And I know I'm gonna hate saying that in the future. Okay, anyways, back to the AN lines. So we got them all tightened down. They're all good now. They look awesome. We're gonna use a little bit of Teflon putting these on. I don't know if it's really necessary, but we're gonna do it because we're baller. Just kidding. And something my coworker said, which I didn't even think about, but this is something he just thought about off the top of his head to make this easier. If you remember, when I was putting these on, I was kind of struggling because these fibers were coming back. But he said to just take a fire to it. So I don't have fire, so we're not going to test that right now, unfortunately. But next time I'm doing AN lines, which will probably be whenever I'm doing the oil cooler, I'm just going to heat up, I'm just burn it. I'm just going to burn the fibers, and they should shrink. And that should probably make it a lot easier putting the fittings on. Because that was really the only thing I really struggled with was the fittings. So I'm gonna remember that for the future. For now, I'm gonna leave the leftover lines over here. And I believe that's about 8 feet of line left. So I should have plenty for the oil cooler whenever that comes. I shouldn't have to buy more, at least not for the 10 AN lines. We're probably gonna be running AN lines for both our fuel, maybe PCV, that might be a little much. Because we are gonna run a catch can and not gonna run it for coolant. I just don't want to run it for coolant. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of running that for coolant. But yeah, we're done. We're gonna throw these on. No, we're done. We're throwing them on. Okay, we are done. Okay, the lines are on. The lines are on. Boing, 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 boing. Alright, I don't know what to do with these, so they're just gonna be dangling about, I guess, until we can figure out what we're doing with them. And then we'll probably just put the oil filter like up here or something, you know? You know? You'd be like, burp. Blub, 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 blub. I mean, probably we'll pre-fill these with oil before we put them on because they are pretty big lines. But yeah, we're done. We're all done. Yep. I guess that's it for now. So come back for the next episode where we will be doing, I'm not sure. The next episode I think is going to be the rocker arms. Yeah, rocker arms. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the next episode. We're going to be upgrading the rocker arms. And then after that, it's going to be intake manifold. After that, it's going to be accessory drive. And then after that, it's going to be maybe throttle body and fuel rails. Then after that, it's going to be wiring harness and ECU. And then after that, it's going to be fuel pump. And after that, it's going to be PCV. Then after that, it's going to be firing up. Pretty sure it's going to be fired up on the engine stand. Make sure it run good. Yep. That's it for now. So come back for episode 5, I think. I'm not sure.